Hey, welcome in. Wednesday edition, Bruce Hooley Show. We're going to get started momentarily. We're in radio commercial right now, coming out of that. Another protest scheduled at Ohio State tonight at 6 o'clock. And will those who've already been arrested be prosecuted? You know the answer, right? The best indication of what's going to happen is what has already happened. We'll have the details on that. So looking forward to talking with you today. And we're just about ready to go as we're just about out of commercial. So thanks for joining us. Remember, hour number 2 of the show streams on the Bruce Hooley Show Facebook page and the 989 The Answer Facebook page. I hear the music, which means it's time to start. Here we go. Welcome in, Wednesday edition, Bruce Hooley Show. I hope you've sent your support to Ohio State President Ted Carter for the way he's maintaining order on campus, because he's going to need your support because the disorder on campus is not going to stop. They're going to hold, or at least attempt to hold, another protest tonight at 6 o'clock. University police, I'm sure, will be on alert. If the protest devolves into anarchy, they try to camp on the South Oval, they try to do anything that Ohio State has said they cannot do, I hope they move in to stop them. That's why it's important for you to convey your support to Ted Carter, the relatively new president of Ohio State, who has done an exceptional job so far of keeping order on campus. Unlike presidents at Columbia, NYU, assorted other schools around the country, including UCLA, which will make a brilliant addition to the Big Ten next year. A lot of these protests, not just at Ohio State, Michigan, Indiana, Wisconsin, USC, UCLA. We're adding USC and UCLA to the Big Ten next year. So, as I said, they'll make tremendous additions to the conference. It has been said, and was said yesterday, by the way, they moved in at Columbia last night and arrested over 300 people. Boy, do I have great audio today from one of the people from Columbia. The criticism of NYPD officers going into Columbia is, what do I always say about the left? They try to win on language, right? They try to win on language. They get language to seep into every conversation, right? Gay marriage. Pretty common term. If you're gay, you cannot be married. Marriage is between a man and a woman. Okay, there's all kinds of things. Gender. I hear people that are good, staunch, logical, common sense conservatives use the word gender. There's no such thing as gender. Sex, male and female. That's it. No gender. Don't use it. It's a made-up term. It cedes ground to the left. So the left is trying to win on language, and now they are saying that because New York yesterday sort of tried to paint the protesters at Columbia in a flattering light by saying that they were being co-opted by outside agitators. Now, outside agitators, even though we got video and ample evidence that there are outside agitators involved, whether they're BLM or who knows what, Antifa, others, outside agitators is now being termed a racist term because it was used in the 60s to disparage people campaigning and protesting for civil rights. Outside agitators is now a term they try to use on the left to make people who are doing the right thing, like Ted Carter at Ohio State, feel bad about what they are doing. So this morning, downtown, there are supposed to be some of the people who were arrested at Ohio State for not complying with clearly stated orders to disperse and to not encamp on the South Oval. They're supposed to be down there this morning in Franklin County Common Pleas Court answering to, pleading to the charges against them. Except, we all know where this is headed, right? The best indicator of what is going to happen is what has already happened. So you tell me, how many people in Columbus, Ohio, who were part of the violent George Floyd protests, they were not mostly peaceful, they were not even peaceful. There were rocks thrown, there were bottles of frozen water thrown, there were canned foods thrown. Congressman Joyce Beatty slugged a Columbus police officer on camera. Is that on Joyce Beatty's record? No, it is not. It's not on her criminal record because, of course, there were no charges filed against Joyce Beatty for hitting a police officer. No charges filed. And there were no charges filed against anybody who rioted in the George Floyd riots in the city of Columbus in May of 2020. So you tell me, what do you think is going to happen to these protesters? You know the answer, right? Nothing! Nothing is going to happen to them because Zach Klein, the city law director, lacks a backbone. He's not going to do anything. Ohio State doesn't have its own court system. They might be able to exact some kind of penalty against students who were arrested, if there were students arrested in the protest. We don't know yet. But stand firm, Ted Carter. Keep doing what you're doing. Okay, what about outside agitators? Are they outside agitators? Sure, I think they probably are. But nobody ever uses the term inside agitators. And that is what we have at Ohio State. And that is what we have at a lot of campuses around the country. And I'm not talking about students. I'm talking about faculty. Faculty members are inside agitators. And faculty members are not just participating in, but playing a key role in leading these protests, in goading students into doing these things, and in doing the things that are objectionable themselves. Inside agitators. And one of the inside agitators at Ohio State is a woman by the name of, I hope she's not offended by me calling her a woman, Michio Hikata. Michio is an associate professor of elementary language arts. And her logic is similar to the logic that I'm going to demonstrate for you later with audio from a Columbia professor, where they have this very narrow view of the altruistic side they're taking in this Israel-Hamas situation, and then are completely and utterly blind to the fact that if they were to apply that same standard, they would realize how hypocritical and indefensible their position is. Let me demonstrate with Michio Hikata. She says in her editorial, which of course the Columbus Dispatch was only too happy to publish, I couldn't believe someone left me in charge of so many little people in my first year as a teacher 20 years ago. I taught third grade for a few years and the fourth grade and eventually fifth grade before returning to college for a PhD. Oh boy. And then she says she started teaching at Ohio State in the fall of 2015. And she says throughout her career as a teacher, there is one thing that has always kept her up at night. And that is the prospect of having to put herself between her students and a school shooter. Okay, now I applaud that. That's something every teacher should think about. Unfortunately, that is where we are in our society. She said, for my entire professional career, I have imagined putting myself between an armed person and my students because that's my job. What's the next paragraph in Michio Hikata's woke editorial in the Columbus Dispatch? Here it is. Watching Ohio State University police officers in riot gear stream onto the Oval April 25th, knowing that I was too far away to help and that you, OSU President Ted Carter, sanctioned armed strangers to invade our learning space, makes me sick. Okay. She's altruistic. She's got this vision of having to put herself between an armed person and her students. That's heroic. That's what a teacher should do. That's what many teachers have done throughout the country, at Columbine, at Parkland, at Uvalde, at other places. Nothing wrong with her mindset there. What is wrong is her blindness to the fact that OSU police did not move into the South Oval to hurt people. OSU police moved into the South Oval to protect students from people who were massing to say hateful things against them. OSU police were ordered into the South Oval to break up something that was on the cusp of becoming unruly. OSU police were there to keep the peace. OSU police were there to do what Michio Hikata says she dreams at night of having to do, which is stand between herself and harm to her students. She can't see it because, of course, she does not care about students who are Jewish, who might be on the Ohio State campus and might be, I don't know, studying for finals. She doesn't care about Jewish faculty members who might feel threatened because other faculty members like her are members of an organization at Ohio State called Faculty and Staff for Justice in Palestine. Justice in Palestine. What would justice in Palestine entail? Oh, it would entail the slaughter of every Jew in the world and the taking of the state of Israel by Arabs. You know what's really funny is the Biden administration yesterday was found out by CBS News that they're thinking of flying into our country people from Gaza who have relatives in the United States. Now I have a question. If the White House, as it is said in statements and through surrogates, not through Joe Biden because he's infirm and inept and unable to talk and say anything or even stay on teleprompter, if countries adjacent or nearby Gaza, like Syria and Egypt and Jordan, won't take people from Gaza, shouldn't that tell us something about what their mindset might be? Shouldn't it tell us something if those countries that are Arab, like they are in Gaza, won't take them, that they view them as a danger? Why? Because, I don't know, they've kept a terrorist regime like Hamas in power for 2 decades or more? So Michio Hikata doesn't want to put herself into a position where she might be the problem instead of the solution. And there are a lot of people like that. And they're not just at Ohio State, they're all over the country, including at Denison, which we'll tell you about next.
Mostly sunny, very warm afternoon.
Okay, off and running. This whole thing makes me so angry because we have a death of common sense, we've lost education, we've lost academia. This is the fool. Let me hold her up. This is the fool right here, Michio Hikata. Fool, you're a fool, you're an idiot. An idiot means you have language available, you have knowledge available to you, and you won't pay attention to it. Did October 7th happen, Michio? I'd like for her to sit and watch the video of October the 7th. What happened to those Jewish women? I'd like for her to contemplate what it would have been like to be a hostage in those stinky, rat-infested tunnels. And then tell me you have empathy for other people. You have zero empathy for other people because you don't think Jews are people. Despicable. You're a despicable person.
As the Russia conflict escalates, get in on the next major oil boom now and help the U.S. with your patriotic investment that can potentially pay you monthly income for up to 20 or more years. That's the sound of a producing oil well and the sound of a smart investment. If you're an SEC accredited investor and have at least $25,000 liquid now, you can take advantage of Encore Energy's projects and a huge tax savings for this year. If you invest in oil and natural gas, you're allowed to write off nearly 100%.
So we're in commercial. Let me do a little prep here and then we'll be right back with you.
Up to $100 a barrel, and natural gas is the fuel of the future and trading at record prices. Call 800-287-6691. Encore Energy is a major investor and experienced operator in its core area of operations. Call now and learn how to deduct 100% of your investment and create 20 or more years of potential monthly income. Call 800-287-6691. That's 800-287-6691.
Don't miss the podcasts that matter. Now on the Salem Podcast Network. Dinesh D'Souza.
This is a game in which the conclusion comes first, and then you look for data, and then if the data is, quote, disappointing, you start fiddling with the data. You can often claim that the data says something that it doesn't really say. Why? Because the ordinary person never checks.
Where's the Denison thing? Come on.
Trying to help us, but I no longer believe that.
We need to be better prepared to understand what it is that the left is doing with their arguments so that we can be better prepared to answer these things and to have definitions that matter.
Subscribe today for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
My sister Katie and I love to shop. Well, mostly window shop. She means we're thorough. She means we're bargain hunters. Exactly. But my sister Kelly showed me an article that made me change a a really bad habit. Just wanting us to do what's right.
You see, at one time, I just couldn't stay away from those bargain knockoffs. You know, the handbags and scarves sold on the street.
Counterfeit merchandise?
Ooh, you make it sound so illegal.
Well, it is stealing.
Ouch. I wouldn't steal. I didn't realize that this sort of stealing can lead to more Americans losing their jobs.
So, no more buying fakes and knockoffs, right?
Right. Just honest bargain hunting.
Now you're talking.
Remember, counterfeits hurt, but you have the power to stop them. To learn more, go to www.ncpc.org/getreal. That's ncpc.org/getreal. Brought to you by the National Crime Prevention Council and the Bureau of Justice Assistance, U.S. Department of Justice.
Hey, take a visit to brucehooley.com to get involved in any of the enterprises with which I'm involved, including flooring. You need floor and carpet or hard surface flooring, not hardwood, but hard surface. Looks like wood, looks like tile. brucehooley.com. Leave your information. I'll get back in touch with you. It's also where you can find out more about patriotswitch.com. What are patriotswitch.com products? Ooh, they are awesome. Hey, did you see that apple juice from Kroger and some other stores has been found to have arsenic in it? Oh, wow, that's serious. Take a look at that. But you know what else it tells you is that big corporations, big companies, a lot of times to increase the shelf life of an item, they'll put something in it that, will this really hurt people? I don't know. Maybe they won't find out, or maybe it's too tiny to hurt them. Who knows? You won't have that problem with patriotswitch.com products because they are all made from plants. They never paid a product liability settlement. Your personal care items, your mouthwash, toothpaste, things you ingest, wash your clothes in, clean your countertops with, wouldn't you be better off getting plant-based products? Good for you, good for the environment from patriotswitch.com? Maybe you would. Maybe you should. patriotswitch.com/Bruce. You can podcast the show anytime, half-hour increments. Go to 9890answer.com. Click on Listen. Find your way to the podcast page. Jeff boils it down in half-hour show increments, takes the commercials out, and you will have 20 minutes of content. A big part of the problem on these student protests is that the students of today are led by the students of yesterday, who are also now known as faculty members. We have ample evidence that faculty members, though they may hold advanced degrees, are not very smart people. At the Columbus Dispatch, where they cannot wait to disparage Ted Carter, the new president, because he's white and he's a military guy, they love Christina Johnson because she was LGBTQ. They love Michael Drake because he was an intersectional hire. They love Karen Holbrook, same thing. But Ted Carter, average, normal military colonel, Top Gun guy, no, they don't like Ted Carter. Because Ted Carter understands common sense. Ted Carter understands law and order. That it's good for everybody on campus. You keep protesters from harming themselves, from getting in fights like they had at UCLA last night. By the way, let me just play for you last night. If you didn't have Ted Carter on the case, what it could be like, because this is what it was like at UCLA last night, courtesy of Fox's William Longinus. Five to six officers at UCLA. Definitely different. Definitely much more a weak-kneed response than we had at Ohio State, thanks to Ted Carter's decisiveness. That's what you could have here in Columbus without strong leadership, and we have strong leadership from Ted Carter. I'm not sure if we had strong leadership at Denison, but it sounds like we might. They had a protest yesterday at Denison. 100 Denison students and faculty members calling for the university to provide transparency about its financial investments, none of your business, divest its finances from companies and institutions with links to Israel, none of your business, against the law in Ohio, and officially join the call for an immediate ceasefire in Palestine. You have no authority, nobody cares, you're wrong. Of course, they chanted from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Israel's been out of Gaza since 2005. They are not free because Hamas does not allow them to be free, because Hamas steals all their humanitarian aid and buys rockets and makes rockets with it to lob into Israel. If you're not free, if you don't feel free, blame Hamas, don't blame Israel. Disclose, divest. We will not stop. We will not rest. Okay, good. Who cares? And this is telling. These next two people I'm going to tell you about at Denison are telling. Faye, a Denison junior who declined to give their last name. Gee, Faye, where's your bravery? Give your last name. She goes on to make some woke statement about how hot it's going to get. And then we go to Greta Schreiber. Points for you, Greta, for giving your last name. A Denison senior and the co-president of Students for Justice in Palestine. Isn't it amazing how there's like all these Students for Justice in Palestine chapters around the country? Funded by George Soros. They're at Ohio State, they're at Denison, they're everywhere. She says, listen to this idiotic moral equivalency she offers. She says that Denison should divest from everything Israel because in the 1980s, students called on Denison to divest all funds from South Africa and companies connected to the apartheid regime. Shriver said the university tried to ignore students' requests then, but eventually did divest from South Africa in 1987. Does anybody see the problem with this parallel that she's drawing between divesting from South Africa and divesting from Israel? Okay, let me help you. In South Africa, the government was in favor of apartheid, which meant blacks had no rights, okay? In Israel, I'll remind you again, there are 2 million Arab citizens. Arabs can serve and do serve in the Israeli parliament. Identify the racists in South Africa. Yes, the South African government. Identify the racists in the Hamas-Israel conflict. Yes, Hamas. Yes, Palestine. Yes, idiots like Greta Schreiber. Moron. I'd back you if you made a lick of sense, but you don't, because you are siding with the racists. You are siding with the anti-Semites. And I would say that you're the stupidest person I've come across today, but instead, I can't, because I made the mistake of going to the Twitter feed of Hassan Kwame Jeffries at Ohio State, at Professor Jeffries at Ohio State. You know his brother? His brother is the air traffic controller. You know, the House Democratic Minority Leader, Hakeem Jeffries, who can't talk without moving his hands like he's bringing a plane in off the runway at John Glenn International. Hassan Kwame Jeffries, law professor at Ohio State, who is ripping on Ted Carter for keeping the peace on campus. Hassan Kwame Jeffries, one of the Exhibit A's of the faculty issues we have across the United States of America. We have lost education on college campuses, except Christian colleges, and not all of them can be trusted. Your secondary education in the Christian parochial realm, not all of them can be trusted. Even if you think you're insulating your kids from wokeness by sending them to private schools, look at the curriculum, stay on top of it, because it's your job to do it, because the teachers can't be trusted.
With SRN News, Howard Skeleton. A crackdown on anti-Israel protests on college campuses is spreading. There have been arrests at Tulane in New Orleans and the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Also arrests and protests cleared at Columbia University and City College in New York and at UCLA. Amid all of the turmoil, you've heard nothing from President Biden.
All right, back in commercial. Yes, amid all the turmoil, we've heard nothing from President Biden. You know why we haven't heard anything from President Biden? Because President Biden is a mush brain. Because he can't talk on camera. He can't be trusted to stay on prompter. He is feckless. He is impotent. He is weak-kneed. And he is scared to death of not being president again. And he's well on his way to authoring a self-fulfilling prophecy by causing himself to drop in the polls because he won't take a stand on this issue. When it's an 80-20 issue.
Biden has started tracking Christians like cattle. Yes, you heard it right. He pressured banks to tag transactions for certain keywords. One of them is Holy Bible. It's a horrifying and creepy attack on our religious freedoms. It's made possible by a digital financial system that makes you a sitting duck. But you do have other options. I recommend a physical gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. I'm Lance Wallman, a news analyst, a best-selling author, and evangelical leader to people who cherish their financial independence. The Precious Metals IRA can help you avoid the scrutiny of Biden's anti-Christian bureaucracy while also preserving your retirement savings. To find out more, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word FAITH to 989898. Birch Gold Group is the only gold company I trust. Get their free info kit and see how a gold IRA can help you. Text FAITH to 989898. There are no strings attached. So text FAITH to the number 989898 right now and take action to protect.
He's the voice of a new generation, willing to fight for what's right in the greatest country ever conceived. Harry Kirk, and you can hear it weekdays from 6 to 7, and again 11 to midnight on your station for news, opinion, and passion.
Where did my lid go?
This is a red alert for hard.
We'll be back from commercial here in just a momento. And we'll update you on some crime stories in Columbus.
Who are exposing these schemes. Real patriotic financial warriors like Jim Rickards and Porter Stansberry. They're not afraid to tell it like it is and fight back against the system. Now, with the 2024 election storming our way, your IRA and your 401k may be in a...
You would not believe how many pills I have to take. How many pills I have to take during treatment. I think I counted once. I think it's 40 a day. Look at the size of this bad boy. Look at the size of this bad boy. Look at that. That's a big one. That's a horse pill.
Text Truth to 76626 now and get the free report and gold investment kit. The fight for your financial freedom.
Down the hatch.
Text the word truth to 76626.
Standard texting data rates may apply.
Here's great news. If you plan on attending Ohio Christian University as a new traditional student this fall semester at the Circleville campus, you can receive a $5,000 tuition scholarship for only $2,500. That's right, get a $5,000 tuition scholarship for only $2,500. One scholarship per student, and all Ohio Christian University admission requirements must be...
What are you doing here? My pillow, my pillow, my pillow.
Answer.com or call RMAT at 614-216-5049.
News, opinion, passion. Here, 98.9 FM, The Answer. Anywhere you go with The Answer's mobile app at 98.9theanswer.com. Also on our smart speakers, TuneIn or iHeart.
How'd you sleep last night? Oh, man, if it wasn't good. Let me tell you how you can fix that. My Pillow products, they are phenomenal. Easy Dream bed sheets, getting it done for me. So's the My Pillow, so's the My Pillow mattress topper. And the $25 sale is getting it done for you right now at My Pillow. $25 sale. I didn't say $25 off. I said $25. Imagine if you could get an authentic, real My Pillow. Not a little travel pillow. Well, I suppose those are $25. Everything is, pretty much. I mean, a king-size My Pillow for $25, that's crazy. I'm not jealous. I paid more than that for mine, about 3 times as much, and worth every penny. So imagine the bargain you're getting. If you order 3 items at mypillow.com right now, amid their $25 sale, that'll total $75, and Mike Lindell will ship it to you free. He'll also give you a free gift, like he's not giving you enough free stuff. Mike Lindell's surviving because of your loyalty after he's been canceled and chased out of big box stores. But he's thriving, and it drives them crazy. So land a blow against the left and sleep great. MyPillow.com, promo code Bruce. I'm looking at my news feed here as we come out of break into segment 3 of the show. And I see a lower third that says, White House, Biden condemns use of the word intifada. White House condemns protests. Could we see the president do it? When you're a leader, the people who you lead need to hear from you. They don't need to hear through surrogates. They don't need to hear through statements. They need to hear it from you. Because when you say it, it has impact. He hasn't said anything. He hasn't said anything. Oh, he said, what are they talking about? He said, I condemn this, I condemn this, I condemn that. I do not like them, Sam I am. I do not like protests. I do not like those who don't understand how rough it is to be a Palestinian refugee from a country that sent terrorists across the Israeli border and slaughtered 2,000 Jews. So we're waiting to hear. Yesterday, the president had an event at a school, no reporters allowed in. He is botching an 80-20 issue, which I look at from afar and I'm mystified, except that A, he has nothing but idiots who work for him. He's an idiot himself. He's the epitome of the Peter principle. People who continually fail up. People who continually fail up. There's a lot of them. I've covered a lot of them in sports, in athletic administration, in coaching. I've covered a lot of them. Politics filled with people who fail up. This nut job professor at Ohio State I just told you about, 2 of them. Students at Denison. The world is filled with people who epitomize the Peter principle. They just continually fail up. You work with them, right? If I say, who in your organization has continually failed up? You got a name right now. You know you do. Of course you do. But then there are people who make an impact in other people's lives who don't fail up, who earn what they get. And I'm very sad to say that one of them is no longer with us. Detective Brent Johnson, age 42, died at his home Monday. He's a Columbus police detective. And he had 20 years on the force. He was working in robbery at the time of his passing. That had to be frustrating. Because Zach Klein won't prosecute open and shut cases because, this makes our crime statistics look bad. Detective Johnson leaves behind a wife and 4 children. Here is the quote about him from the Columbus Division of Police. For 20 years, Detective Johnson dedicated his time and service to the city of Columbus and the Columbus Division of Police. We extend our deepest condolences to Detective Johnson's wife and children, as well as his friends and family, as they navigate this unimaginable loss. Brian Steele, who's the head of the FOP, Lodge 9, served with Johnson as one of his partners in the past. He said his loss will create a hole that will never be filled. He was an outstanding police officer. We have a lot of them in town. I know of another one who sent me a text the other day, said he's retiring. And I'm happy for him, but I'm sad for our city. Because when we lose good officers, our city gets worse, and our city is a shadow of what it used to be. When Republican mayors and Republican captains of industry called the shots in our city. Once we turned all Democrat, it has been a steadily increasing descent. And it will continue to be so. Case in point, 2 shootings last night in South Columbus, right around 11 o'clock. A juvenile shot multiple times down near Marion Village, just before 11 o'clock. 30 minutes later, Smith Road, same thing happened. Police do not have or will not release the identity of the victim or any information on possible suspects. In other news of the system gone wrong, a social worker, Peyton Shires, will be back in court today, facing charges including unlawful sexual conduct with a minor, intimidation, inducing panic, and discharging a firearm. She was the mental health counselor for a 13-year-old boy, and she lured him into having sexual relations with her. Her mom, the boy's mom, found text messages on her son's phone, which tipped her off to this horrific betrayal of trust. And Ms. Shires then got out of jail, showed up at the boy's home with a gun, and threatened to kill herself and the boy's mother. Yikes. She has been in Franklin County Jail since October the 27th. Well, thank goodness for that. She has pleaded, of course, not guilty to all charges. Unfortunately for Peyton Shires, she is white, so she will be convicted. And she should be convicted if she did those things. But she has no intersectionality boxes to check. So the legal system may actually function as a legal system isn't designed to do. Sometimes the crimes are so horrific, the legal system has no choice, and that appears to be the case with former Worthington Christian girls basketball coach Jason Dawson. Jason Dawson is now charged federally, not just in the state of Ohio, for grooming and having sex with 2 of the players that he coached at Worthington Christian. This gives me no joy to report. I knew Jason a little bit from some endeavors I have in the sports realm, and my kids go to WC but did not have any interactions with him. Thank goodness. I feel horrible for the families that he betrayed. I feel horrible for the school. It's celebrating its 50th year. This is not at all typical of the mission or the values or the actual boots on the ground things that go on at Worthington Christian. Jason Dawson, something happened to this guy because he is a WC graduate and he coached there for a long time. And you know, you look around the world and you see ample evidence. We just outlined a couple instances of it, of Satan's impact in the world. I really feel like evil is a very, very, very never more active force than it is right now, prowling around. And if it happens not to intersect with your life, thank God the Father and His Son for sparing you that. Because something happened to Jason Dawson, and then he betrayed horribly 2 young girls whose lives will require a ton of healing to get over this. He had sexual relations with them at school, at hotels, in the back of his car. He filmed it. He sent it to them. That's where the federal charges come in. This guy should go away for a long, 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 long time. My fear is a lot of these cases that we've talked about in this realm, the penalties are stunningly, abhorrently light. Just several years. And this kind of stuff is alarmingly happening at a much, much higher rate. It's not uncommon at all to hear of tales like this. Again, this is a demonstration of what we've talked about. We lost academia, right? Academia at its core is what? It is instructors who are well educated and stay in their lane and focus on teaching the students whose trust they have and whose care they are entrusted with. They are to challenge them, make the students believe that they can achieve more than they maybe feel they can. And when the whole equation works, it's a beautiful thing to see. I mean, it is a beautiful thing to see. You're going to be invited to, I've been invited to, a bunch of graduation parties this spring, right? Most of you are. And it's tremendous. They put the photos out of the kids and all their mementos of school and stuff like that. When it goes well, when the kids are not betrayed by the people that they trust, when they're taught by teachers who understand my expertise is biology, I'm going to teach biology, my expertise is history, English, math, whatever, I'm going to stay in that lane. I'm not going to put like my political beliefs on the board, and we're not going to talk about that crap because it's not what I've been hired to do, and it's not what I am an expert and am licensed to do. When it goes wrong, it's awful, and it's gone wrong in a lot of these cases. But when it goes right, it's a beautiful thing. And we got to get back to, as parents and as stakeholders, insisting that it goes right.
Sunny, very warm afternoon. High today 83. Partly cloudy, mild tonight, low 58. For tomorrow, sunny clouds and warm afternoon, high 85. Sunny from Friday, remaining warm. A thunderstorm beginning late morning. High Friday afternoon. 26. I'm Steve Williams on 98.9 FM, The Answer.
Remember as a kid, your parents and grandparents making you try all the vegetables on your plate? Well, when they coaxed you to eat fruit instead of sweets, that's because they knew that was good for you. And it's truer today than ever before. You need to eat your fruits and vegetables. There's no substitute for a healthy diet, but there is Balance of Nature. Their products are gluten-free and non-GMO, and they contain no added sugars or synthetics. Feel better naturally and eat your fruits and vegetables every single day with Balance of Nature. Are you ready to start? Whether you order online or call them directly, you must use promo code GORKA to get this special offer of 35%.
So in commercial right now, I'm going to do a little prep for the next segment.
$7.51
And appreciate you hanging with me here during the break.
2468 $7.51 or order online at balanceofnature.com. Use discount code GORKA to get 35% off.
Laura Trump provides a fresh and honest perspective on the issues that matter to you on the Right View podcast, now available on the Salem Podcast Network.
The number of Americans, and I think this is part of the problem right now, the number of Americans getting their news from TikTok quadrupled in the past 3 years. It really kind of terrifies me for what is to come for this country.
Subscribe to The Right View on Spotify, Google, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcast.com.
Is your money safe? Are you reading about the push to the digital dollar that could allow the government to tell us what we can and cannot buy with our own money? Look, with all the things we've learned about what the feds are up to, that's not a shock, right? I'm encouraging you to get The Secret War on Cash. The Secret War on Cash is a compelling, insightful report created by my friends at Swiss America. It's available now, free of charge. You're going to learn how to protect yourself from these threats to our freedom and to our hard-earned money. Call Swiss America now, or you can text it as well. 800-289-2646. 800-289-2646, or just go to SwissAmerica.com/Gallagher and get this free report. I was shocked at what the banks are required to do for the government. You will be too. You've got to learn how to protect your money. Swiss America's free report, The Secret War on Cash. It's as easy as a phone call or a text to 800-289-2646, 800-289-2646, or go to SwissAmerica.com/Gallagher.
The NLS Braille and Talking Book program gives patrons the freedom to read their way, listen to their stories.
When I lost my sight, the only thing I had was reading, and it was like therapy to me.
NLS has pretty much anything you possibly want to read. Just can't recommend it enough. It's a free service. It's amazing how much you can get.
I have used every means there is, I think, of getting access to National Library Service books.
If you want to read in electronic braille, you can. If you want to read on your phone, you can. If you want to read in hard print, you can.
Everybody can read the way they want to read using this program, and it's a program worth looking into.
For more information about the National Library Service for the blind and physically handicapped Library of Congress, visit loc.gov/thatallmayread or call 1-888-NLS-READ.
Boy, being in pain is no fun. No fun at all. You go to do something you'd like to do and you can't do it, and you're like, man, I wish I could get rid of this elbow pain, this back pain, this hip pain. Well, you know, and being in pain is no fun, but being in pain needlessly is no fun on a double scale, because you really don't have to deal with that. Because right now there is available to you a free consultation from my friends at QC Kinetics, who specialize in getting you out of pain. No. You're not going to have a big pill box, and you're going to have to go to the doctor a ton of times and all that and be tethered to conventional medicine. QC Kinetics is advanced regenerative medicine, non-surgical. What do? Well, they take the natural healing agents out of your body. They're called platelets. They concentrate them. Then, after your body makes more of those natural healing agents, because your body's an amazing instrument, they re-inject a double dose. What they took out, plus what you already have, bam! Relief just around the corner. Why not take advantage of that free consultation? 380-208-4544. 308-208-4544. That's 380-208-4544. So the consequences of the election in November are hard to emphasize enough, because we really have reached a point where, you know, in the past, okay, this party wins, that party wins. Not all that much was going to change. That's certainly not the case right now. Joe Biden has said if he's reelected, he's going to allow the Trump tax cuts to expire. The Trump tax cuts made the economy take off. And if you are someone who makes less than $400,000 a year, you've probably already noticed that life is harder for you with a 20% hike in prices at the gas pump at the grocery store since Biden took office. But it's going to get a lot harder, because if the Trump tax cuts expire, your taxes are going to go way up. And then Biden's going to tell you, and Karine Jean-Pierre is going to tell you, and John Kirby's going to tell you, and Ian Sams and everybody else in the White House is going to tell you, we didn't raise taxes. We didn't raise taxes. And you're like, I'm paying more taxes. I'm paying like a couple $1,000s more a year in taxes. And they're going to keep doing what they've always done, which is lie to you. Personal finances aside, what about issues of common sense and science? I'm talking, of course, about sexual reassignment surgeries. Did you see the other day? The 4th District Court of Appeals. This is the court that, well, it's California. No, not some wigged out woke state. North Carolina, West Virginia. That's the 4th Circuit. Pretty conservative areas, right? Oh. The problem is, circuit judges are appointed by presidents. And as Barack Obama said, elections have consequences. Boy, did those consequences ever show up in the 4th Circuit when they were dealing with a lawsuit brought by 2 people who said they were denied health care because they were not allowed to get the transgender care and surgeries that they wanted. And they were suing to force healthcare companies, health insurance companies, to pay their bills, to pay for their surgeries, to pay for their puberty blockers. And the 4th Circuit sided with them. Now, what is the makeup of the 4th Circuit? Who appointed these judges who did not listen to common sense? Well, 4 of them were appointed by Barack Obama. 3 of them were appointed by Joe Biden. 1 of them was appointed by Bill Clinton. And 3 of them were appointed by Donald Trump. Do you notice a disparity in the roots of the appointments of these appeals court, of these district judges who decided this case? I do. That was one of the under the radar accomplishments of the Trump presidency, was his ability to appoint not just Gorsuch and Amy Coney Barrett and Brett Kavanaugh to the court, which is why we now have the fight over the overturn of Roe versus Wade. But Trump appointed 3 justices, but Biden's back in, and Biden has gotten to appoint 3 as well. And 4 from the Obama administration are still on there. And so these things have consequences as they filter out, and the currents of their stupidity are applied to cases that concern very, very important issues. Remember, I told you the story yesterday of the, 5 West Virginia girls, junior high kids, who were forced to compete against a boy in a shot put competition. So they decided, this isn't fair. This other competitor is not a girl. It's a strength competition. We're not going to like scream at him, yell at him. We're just going to pick up the shot put, walk into the circle, walk out of the circle. We're disqualified. He wins. We're not even going to try. We're not going to dignify this. We're not going to compete because that shows that we're taking this seriously. If the people who are supposed to protect us are not taking this seriously, from our school administrators to our school board to our 4th District Court, if they're not going to take it seriously, we're not going to take it seriously. And so they just stepped out and got disqualified. And what did they get for their trouble? They've been banned from competing in track and field the rest of the year by their school board. So if you don't think elections are important, if you can't bring yourself to vote for Donald Trump because I don't care for his brusque manner, I don't care for his payoffs to porn stars, I don't care for the fact that he gives everybody a nickname, he offended me because I was a Ron DeSantis fan or a Nikki Haley fan or whatever. I don't dispute that Donald Trump has a wide swath of areas where he could improve and be more presidential. But I will not cede to you any equal ground that not voting for Donald Trump is somehow a noble deed because it keeps someone whose character and manner you don't like out of the White House, when you well know that not voting for Donald Trump will return Joe Biden to the White House. Biden is unable to come out and say a word extemporaneously about what should be the biggest layup for an American president ever: defending freedom and liberty and condemning terrorism and racism. That's not a hard question. You don't need to sit around a big oak table at the cabinet meetings and go, gee guys, the topic for today is terrorism and racism. Are we for that or are we against it? Now, I don't doubt that if they went around the table, there'd be some there who would say, well, it depends on who it's aimed at. Like, if we're going to be racist toward white people, then okay, I'm probably fine with that. If we're going to be racist toward Jewish people, I'm down. But it's not a hard call, right? And Joe Biden's dying in the polls because he's trying to both sides this issue. And yet, he is so close in the polls that I sit here and wham my palm into my forehead, if not literally, then figuratively, several times a day, going, how is someone this inept, this infirm, this evil, I'll say it because he is, this gripped by evil, that's a kinder way of saying it, it takes the onus off of him a bit. How is someone gripped by evil, infirm, inept, incapable, well-meaning elderly man, I forget the rest of it, was basically we can't charge him because we'd be picking on Grandpa to put him on the stand. And yet, half the country is thinking of returning him to the White House so he can appoint. You think he's sitting down going, let me see, who do I think would make a great appointment for the 4th District? I got Toby Haytens, DeAndre Benjamin, Nicole Berner. They'd be great judges in the 4th District. You think Joe Biden's doing that? Of course not. He's not running the country. He's not running the courts. He's not running anything. And the only thing worse than having him back in the White House is having people calling the shots who you can't identify and who won't identify themselves. All right, y'all. I'll do it. Thank you for your time today. Appreciate it very much. We are close to having somebody on the show who is an athlete at Ohio State who I've known about for a while, but I did not know much about this person. And I think if we can get this interview done, it'll add a powerful voice to a lot of the things that we talk about on this show. So maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day, but I'm very much looking forward to it. And that's what we used to call in the radio business a tease. So stand by for that in future days. Take care.